Most people who find out don't find out because they were looking. They find out because of something small, something ordinary, a receipt left in a jacket pocket, a name that comes up twice, a phone that lights up at the wrong moment. And in that instant, one completely unremarkable moment, everything rearranges itself. Not just the present, the past too. Every late night, every unanswered call, every time something felt slightly off but you told yourself you were imagining it, suddenly it all means something different. This is Sarah's story. She was 34, married for 6 years, not unhappy, not suspicious. And then one Tuesday night in March, she picked up her husband's phone. What she found had been hiding in plain sight for 14 months. Sarah was 34 when this happened. She and Daniel had been together for 9 years, married for 6. By every external measure, they looked like a solid couple. They owned a home together. They had a daughter, Lily, who was 4. Daniel had a good job in logistics. Long hours, a lot of travel, but he provided well. Sarah worked part-time as a dental nurse and managed most of the household. She described their marriage as, her words, not exciting, but stable. They didn't fight much. He was rarely home for dinner, but when he was, things felt normal, comfortable. She wasn't unhappy. She wasn't suspicious. She was just busy, tired, getting through the week like most mothers do. Looking back now, she says the signs were so quiet she almost missed them entirely. Almost. Here's what she noticed, but didn't connect at the time. About 18 months before that night, Daniel changed his phone passcode. He said it was a security update at work. His company had rolled out new IT policies. She didn't question it. It was completely plausible. 6 months after that, he started sleeping with his phone face down, always. On the nightstand, on the kitchen counter, in the car, face down. She noticed it, filed it away, never mentioned it. He started going to the gym. 3, sometimes 4 mornings a week before 6 a.m. This was new. Daniel had never been a morning person, but she was glad. She thought it meant he was taking care of himself. His work trips got longer. Where they used to be 2 nights, they became 4 or 5. He explained it away easily. New client, regional expansion, budget reviews. He always had a reason, and the reasons always made sense. He became slightly more generous. Small things. Flowers once, a spontaneous dinner reservation, a gift card she didn't ask for. At the time, she felt grateful. She thought maybe he was making an effort. Now she understands what that generosity was. It's called guilt gifting, and it is one of the most consistent behavioral patterns seen in people who are managing a secret. The gift isn't for you. It's to regulate their own discomfort, to tell themselves they're still a good person. Each of these things, the passcode, the phone face down, the gym, the trips, the gifts, meant nothing on its own. But together, they formed a pattern Sarah would only be able to name much, much later. It was a Tuesday in March. Daniel was in the shower. Lily was already asleep. Sarah was in bed, her own phone charging across the room. She reached for his. It was closer, just to check the time before she turned the light off. The screen lit up from a notification, a name she didn't recognize, a woman's name, and a message preview that was, in her words, unmistakably intimate. She said her first reaction wasn't anger. It was a strange, quiet stillness, like her brain needed a moment to catch up with what her eyes had just read. She opened the phone. She didn't even think about the passcode. But Daniel had changed it to Lily's birthday. She knew that. She'd seen him type it once. She got in. What she found was not a recent thing. The messages went back 14 months. 14 months of a parallel life. Another woman, another set of plans, another version of her husband she had never met. His name in those messages wasn't even Daniel. He went by Dan. A small thing, but it hit her hard. Even his name was different. She sat there for 11 minutes. She knows because she checked the time when she picked up the phone, and she checked it again when she heard the shower turn off. 11 minutes to find out your life isn't what you thought it was. She put the phone back, exactly where it was, face down. She turned off her light and pretended to be asleep when he came out of the bathroom. She said this was the hardest thing she has ever done, but something told her not to react yet, not until she knew what she was dealing with. Over the next 4 days, she did several things quietly and carefully. She took screenshots of the messages and sent them to her own email. She noted dates, names, locations mentioned in the conversations. She checked their joint bank account and found a pattern of cash withdrawals. Every second Friday, $200 to $300, going back over a year. She called her sister, who was a solicitor, and had a private conversation about what her rights were before she said a single word to Daniel. She was not acting out of revenge. She was acting out of clarity. On the 5th day, when Lily was at her mother's, Sarah sat Daniel down and told him what she knew. She didn't ask if it was true. She told him she already had the evidence. She told him she had spoken to a lawyer, and she told him she needed him to be honest, not for the marriage, but for the practical decisions they now had to make together. He broke down immediately. He admitted everything. The relationship with the other woman had started at a work conference. It had never been just physical. He described it as, and these are the words Sarah still cannot unhear, something he didn't know how to stop. Here is what Sarah's story reveals, and why it matters beyond just one marriage. What Daniel did follows a documented behavioral pattern. It's not unique to him. In fact, the sequence is remarkably consistent across cases of long-term deception within relationships. It typically begins with compartmentalization. The person mentally separates their two lives and manages each one independently. This is why they can seem completely normal. They're not performing. In that moment, they are in that version of themselves. Then comes protective behavior. Small changes that create distance from discovery. Passcodes, phone positioning, and increased privacy around devices. These feel insignificant in isolation. Then schedule restructuring. New habits that create unaccounted time. The gym, the early starts, the extended work trips, each one individually defensible. Then guilt compensation. The gifts, the effort, the unexpected gestures. This phase often confuses partners the most because it feels like improvement. And finally, if nothing interrupts the pattern, normalization, the person settles into their double life and begins to believe they have it managed. Sarah didn't catch Daniel because she was suspicious. She caught him by accident, at the end of a 14-month pattern that had been building in plain sight. The question isn't whether she should have seen it earlier. The question is, now that you know what the pattern looks like, would you recognize it? Sarah and Daniel did not reconcile. She filed for divorce 8 months after that Tuesday night in March. The process was difficult, practically, financially, emotionally, but she is clear that she has no regrets about the decision. She says the hardest part wasn't finding out. It was the months before, when she sensed something was wrong but had no framework to understand what she was sensing. She describes it as feeling like you're reading a book, but someone's torn out every third page. That's what unaddressed relationship patterns do. They leave gaps, and we fill those gaps with explanations that protect the people we love, even when those explanations don't quite fit. If Sarah's story resonated with you, if any part of it felt familiar, I want to offer you something practical. At Cypher and Clarity, we've built a baseline relationship assessment. It's not a quiz, it's a structured evaluation of the patterns present in your relationship, behavioral, emotional, communicative, so that you can see clearly what's actually there, not just what you hope is there. It's available now at cypherandclarity.cardi.co. The link is in the description below. You don't have to be in crisis to use it. You just have to be someone who wants to understand what's real. Sarah's story isn't unique, but her clarity eventually was. Yours can be too. If this video helped you see something more clearly, subscribe. Every video on this channel is built around one idea. Patterns don't lie. People do. But patterns, once you know how to read them, always tell the truth. I'll see you in the next one.